魔法無礼玉儀
Intense battles, unlikely alliances, and unexpected turnarounds. Those are just a few of the reasons I fell in love with Beyblade X competitive play at my very first tournament. If you'll follow me, I'll let you experience it through the eyes of the arcane competitor at her first WBO event. I'll walk you through my battles, what I learned, and why my next tournament should go even better. This event used the counter battle match format. That means one player reveals their Bey, usually the previous round's winner or determined by a coin flip on the first round, and their opponent chooses counter. The host also added a couple of house rules. Own finish allowed a bit of forgiveness for self-KOs. If neither Bey makes contact and one lands in an overfinish pocket or the extreme zone, it counts as an own finish and adds 1 point to the opponent. Out of bounds finish meant that if a Bey exited through the entry hole, the opponent scored 1 point. These adjustments were designed to balance scoring, and I was excited to see whether they'd encourage riskier builds than the usual meta staples. My first round was against a blader called Faye. I used my Golem Rock on 160 Underneedle, the stock combination. She used the number 1 meta combo Wizard Ron 160 Hexa. I failed my drop launch, and I paid for it with an early burst, and that was the first match of the set. I was off to a bad start. For the next round, I went with a combo I learned from Left Spin Bays, Meteor Dragoon 560 level. She went with a Hover Wyvern on 960 Trans Kick. I nailed my instant extreme and immediately knocked it into the pocket. The judge had to take some time reviewing footage, but eventually ruled as an overfinish. Meteor Dragoon really was shaping up to be a pretty powerful summon, evening out the score right out the gate. For the third battle, I stayed on Meteor Dragoon, but she pulled her Wizard Rod back out. And through sheer resistance, she managed to parry me into the pocket. With the score now set at 2-4, it wasn't looking good for me. I decided to pull out my Phoenix Wing on 360 Hexa, and she was confident enough in her Wizard Rod to go again. Phoenix quickly pocketed Wizard, evening out the score again. I had a feeling about the last battle of the set, so I stuck with Phoenix against Pegasus Blast on free 460 level. I pocketed her after a quick stall and took the first set. Round 2 was against someone using the name Darth Nihilus. I started with my Golem Rock, and he pulled out a Pegasus Blast on an assist blade I didn't recognize in 960 Hexa. Nihilus's blast completely shut me down, taking a spin finish from Golem and really scaring me since it wasn't even close. He pulled out his Shark Scale 160 Rush, and I responded with my Meteor Dragoon. This is when I learned that Stadium Sight affects how you should fling your launcher, because I ended up throwing my Dragoon directly into the extreme pocket, giving him a point and forcing myself to have to try again. And the second time through, we trade a few dashes and he pockets me cleanly, bringing the score to 4-0. He tries Mummy's Curse on, I think, 360 Ball, and I pull out my Phoenix Wing. This was my first time fighting Mummy, and it felt impenetrable. My Phoenix didn't stand a chance. I lost my second set. With 1 win and 1 loss, I went into my next round against another blader named Diana. I had swapped out my Phoenix for Impact Drake on 960 Low Rush. I was immediately scared because she had a Mummy's Curse on 160 Wedge, and that completely shut down any attacks I made last round against it. She had Clock Mirage on 455 Low Orb and Phoenix Wing on 960 Jolt in addition. Confirming my anxieties, she pulled out Mummy to start. I decided to go with my Meteor Dragoon, hoping to push it to a pocket quickly. Unfortunately, my Dragoon had other ideas for the first battle, sending itself immediately into the extreme pocket. I must have gotten my fling short. I had to try again, to another self-pocket. I was really fortunate for the own finish rule. or else this would have lost me the set. Once again, the bay landed itself directly into the pocket, but jumped out, still losing spin before Mummy, bringing my opponent's score up to 3. This is where I really started to squirm. My Meteor Dragoon was being beat on Mummy Curse's aura alone. Luckily, I was able to swap out finally. I pulled out my Impact Drake with high hopes for the next matchup. She stuck with Mummy. Drake hit her with a clean burst and sent the rest of the bay at the extreme pocket, sending me to a score of 3-2. Drake was looking to be my savior this round. I stuck with Impact. She swapped to her Phoenix Wing. Jolt combos, I saw this tourney all looked like they were going to lose regardless of the match results. Phoenix was leaning hard, but took a spin finish. I was really in danger now with a score of 4-2. I trusted in Golem Rock this time, and to my surprise, Diana stuck with her Phoenix. Phoenix must have been afraid of Golem, because it immediately flew into the extreme zone. The second try won me a spin finish, luckily evening out the score. The next battle would determine my third set's results. I kept my Golem, and she went with Phoenix again. I parried into the B-side pocket, winning myself an overfinish and taking the set. Meteor Dragoon had been developing a habit of finishing itself, so I benched it for the rest of the day, and did the unspeakable. I had a temporary alliance with my nemesis, Wizard Rod.
I can't believe I'm using Wizard Rod now. What have I become?
My next match was against a newcomer to the hobby called Notre Dame. I felt like I had this match, armed with Wizard Rod 760 Hexa. He replied with a Golem on I think 360 Orb, and took the spin finish. In the next match, he used Wizard Rod 160 Hexa, and I replied with Impact Drake. Wizard Rod took me out with a spin finish, netting Damon 2 points. He pulled out Wolfhunt on Wheel 560 Wedge, and I tried my Golem. Golem hit him with a drawn-out spin finish, finally netting me a point. I went for my Wizard Rod again, and he picked his Golem again. This time I went for an aggressive stall while Golem centered itself, and I hit it with a clean extreme finish, bringing my score up to 4. I pulled out my Impact Drake and he met me with Wizard Rod again. Predictably, he took the spin, bringing us to 3-4. We decided to do a Golem mirror for the next battle, and after trading a few blows, my Golem came out on top, winning me the 4th set and placing me 3rd in Swiss. I made top cut. Beyblade X is a gear sport, and your equipment and its condition is just as much your responsibility as your technique. What is a magical girl to do without her well-functioning staff? I'd been ignoring the clear signs that my right winder was wearing out, and I still brought it into this tournament. It was throwing off my launches all day, and the problem was only getting worse. I needed to lock in if I was going to have a chance at a podium finish. My first match of the final stage was a rematch against Darth Nihilus. He hadn't changed anything about his deck since the last time we clashed. This bracket was first to 7, which left me pretty nervous. He requested we swap stadium sides, but I wanted the B side. So we played rock, paper, scissors for it. I lost and ended up on the X side. I started with my wizard rod, and he threw in his blast. Barely took the spin, which gave me the first point. I decided I would stick, and he brought out his shark. This made me nervous, since I know how reliable shark scale is at bursting rod. Luckily, my rod endured, and parried shark into the pocket, netting me a total of 3 points so far. We both decided to stick with the same combos, him reasoning that he could beat my rod if he just locked in. I took the spin, leaving me with 4 points. Since this opponent had made me nervous last time, I kept sticking with my wizard rod, and he sent out his blast again. Something felt off about my launch, and his was at the top of his game. My wizard rod lost the spin, putting us at 1-3. I pulled out my Impact Drake, and he stuck with his blast. My affinity for the B-side came back as I accidentally threw my Drake into the extreme zone again. For the retry, his blast got a quick spin finish on me, evening out the score to 3-3. I was nervous now. I pulled out my wizard, hoping I could force the set into an uninteresting spin win. He stayed on his blast and pocketed me, bringing us to 5-3. I pulled out my golem rock, and he stuck with his pick. He took the spin, leaving me incredibly nervous. If I lost one more time, I would be eliminated. So I pulled out my wizard, hoping to take another spin myself. This combo was hitting me hard, and so he didn't switch. My wizard rod didn't have enough spin to carry me through, and I was eliminated from the final stage, placing me at 5th overall according to Challenge. I feel like making top cut at 3rd and Swiss is still extremely good for my first ever tournament, especially on a launcher that was past its prime. With a little magic, maybe I can actually place in my next tourney. Consider leaving a like and subscribing, and don't forget to ring the bell to charge that magic with me.